Are you ready for closing arguments? We're waiting on pins and needles for the closing arguments in the Jodi Arias trial, which are scheduled just a couple of days from now. Okay, what does the prosecution need to do during those closing arguments to put Jodi on death row? We heard a preview during the opening statements. Check this out.
This is not a case of who done it. The person who done it, the person who committed this killing, sits in court today. It's the defendant, Jodi Arias.
Remember, the burden of proof is on the prosecutor. So what are the keys for prosecutor Juan Martinez to get a conviction? We need to know what they need to prove. So let's talk premeditation. Jodi, according to the prosecution, drove 90 miles to rent a car. They say she borrowed and filled gas cans before the trip so she wasn't caught on camera getting gas in Arizona, the state where she didn't want to be seen in, the state where Travis lived. And she also changed her hair color, according to prosecutors. But maybe the biggest thing was staging a burglary at her grandparents' home, where the gun that was stolen is the same caliber of gun used to kill Travis, a gun that's never been recovered. Not to mention the sheer brutality of this crime. Juan Martinez, the prosecutor, will definitely not let this jury forget the details of Travis's gruesome and bloody and prolonged death. Let's debate it. Expert legal panel, what are the biggest pitfalls for the prosecutor, who we know can be very aggressive in court, starting with Evangeline Gomez for the defense?
His demeanor is the first thing. On cross, basically, he humanized Jodi Arias, and I think that many of the jury members still remember it. Two, when it came to many of the other witnesses that testified on the defense.
Spell that out. I don't know what you meant by that.
Spell it out?
Yes.
He came at her like a pit bull. She looked like a victim. She cried. She looked like an emotional person. She was no longer looking like a robot, like a murderer, like somebody who was cold-blooded and somebody who could commit a premeditated murder. And I think that was one of the pitfalls in his prosecution. The same attack method he used with Alice LaViolette.
Let me say this. Leave pit bulls out of it. Pit bulls have done nothing wrong. Stacey Honowitz, she's saying that he was overly aggressive, and then it actually allowed people to sympathize with Jodi Arias. What do you make of that hypothesis?
I think it's ridiculous, quite frankly. Let me tell you something. This guy was able to counter every single thing that she said on the stand. This guy was able to drag out lies from her. Anybody that thought on direct examination she was a shrinking violet, she didn't know what was going on, she was post-traumatic stress, I don't remember anything. When he got up and hammered away at her, as aggressive as he was, and there's nothing wrong with that, she's a butcher. And so what is he supposed to handle her nicely? He was able to counter all of her lies, and I don't think it's going to be a problem at all. They're going to forget his aggressiveness in crossing her once he closes and shows all of the evidence.